APFT for all you
Support
do.
for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas, and good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of the internet created by, you know who? We the people, but now controlled by the billionaires, and controlling our lives through subliminal messages and much more. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Guess what? We're no longer in Fund Drive, so we get a chance to talk to you for the entire full hour. And before we get started, I want to thank all of you who formed a part of being that thousand and something people who donated this time around to allow us to make our goal of $170,000. In fact, we came in about $2,000 over the goal because of your generosity. And you know what, folks? Keep giving, because this station does need a lot of your support. We still need hardware changes so that the tin cans and strings that Howard always talks about is actually replaced by a little bit more robust types of equipment. Anyway, without further ado, let's send it to the studio where our genius, the residents, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beber inhabits.
And Jack invented the internet. He took those tin cans and string to the next level.
Thing about the internet, it's semi-permeable. It works both ways.
Monday morning at the radio, the 10th of March, 2025. Good morning to everyone, and thank you again so much for the generosity shown and the love shown to this radio station. And I certainly appreciate that. I do. Now I can buy a little better grade of tin can, a little better grade of the string, and keep things working around here. Jack, looks like you got dang near a full page of wisdom here. So
yeah, it started off slow, but it grew as I went.
Okay. What you got, man?
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Great to hear your voice.
Is Trump a liar?
Does the bear? Oh, never mind.
Okay. How can you tell if Trump is lying?
He's speaking.
His lips are moving. Why? Why the attack on social services? Why is Trump attacking senior citizens? The senior citizens that worked a lifetime and paid in to the Social Security Trust Fund and have paid it forward so the seniors of yesteryear can have a minimum income and weren't made to suffer old age. Why privatize Social Security? It's worked fine all these years. It ain't broke. It doesn't need fixing. Leave it alone. The corporate takeover of government function is the problem. They're breaking up and dismantling the social programs that support seniors, the poor, and the working poor. Billionaires don't have a heart in their chest. They got a piggy bank.
Well, the fact of the matter is they've taken a lot of things from the VA too, cutting the veterans benefits, making the VA much harder to get to, much harder to respond. It's just madness that's going on right now. However, the good news is Donald Trump is putting a muzzle on Doge and Elon. He's moving him to an advisory role, which means he's gotten so much heat about what's going on that he had to do something with him, because he was just running wild like a loose cannon, shooting holes and everything. And we found $1 billion over here. Oh no, wait, it was just $1 million. Oh, we
Get
didn't.
my chainsaw. Get my chainsaw over here. I want to cut this out.
What an idiot! Good Lord! I mean, you just look at this and go, "What are you doing? Standing up there with a chainsaw? Is this what we want the world to see? Seriously?" Okay, that's enough for me. Take that,
It
Berto, before I go
well,
into a rant.
well, thank you guys. I always love your rants in the morning, and as usual, we have Jack who nailed it. And you know what? I brought in Alex Lawson, the executive director of the Social Security Works. We have an 18-minute piece with him that I need to play. But before that, this morning I woke up to, I'm reading the New York Times and some issues with Trump, and I'm like, this guy sure knows how to triangulate because there's something good about taxes on something called carried interest that he's now coming out to do, which will hit a lot of venture capitalists. And I wonder if it's just another way for him to get a bribe. But I digress. So I want to talk about a little something else before. I want to talk about these tariffs that's going to cost all of us a whole lot more money. The price of eggs are going to be in that because think about it. If the price of eggs are going up so high, under the tenets of capitalism, the efficient allocation of resources, guess what? There are a whole lot of countries right now that have an oversupply of eggs that would love to send us their eggs, and hey, it'll our prices could be quite a bit cheaper right now since our own base are screwing up with the production of eggs, with the spreading of the bird flu, etc. Remember, a lot of this has to do with how we farm eggs, the industrialization of egg farming, and without the right kind of regulations, allow bird flu to spread the way it's spreading. Always remember that. There's a reason for regulations. Regulations are saying if you do things this way, we can get a certain amount of consistency. But I'm going to move away from that. I just want you guys to keep that in your heads. The price of eggs, again, is going up because of the great intelligence of our corporations, which mean lack thereof, and the greed of corporations. I have a friend who this weekend I spent some time with him, who has several egg stalls. And what he does is he follows the regulations to the T. And of course, he's been very clean with the eggs that he produces, with the chickens that he puts out there. But anyhow, tariffs. I want to talk a little bit about that before I get into Social Security. Are tariffs a bad thing? Not all of the times. But hear me out here for a second. If you notice, Sean Fain came out in favor of the tariffs that Donald Trump has on cars, etc., to protect the American worker who has been unable to compete as effectively in the car market. And why is that? Why is that necessary? Because again, capitalism says we seek the efficient allocation of resources, or it promotes the efficient allocation of resources. And guess what, folks? You, as an employee in the realm of capitalism, you are nothing more than a resource. You have nothing, no other value. Everything that, like insurance and 40-hour work week and all these other issues, are determined by the things conservatives hate to hear. It's a word, regulation. So your retirement, your health care, all these other things that companies provide you, that corporations provide you, are called regulations that forces them in some form to give you those things. But other than that, under the tenets of our economic system, you are nothing but a resource. And on top of the tenets of an economic system is the model. And our current model is unfettered capitalism. Now, what that means is the following: that corporate executive, that capitalist, will do whatever it costs to efficiently use a resource. You are a resource. And if you cost more than a Vietnamese resource, than a Chinese resource, than a Filipino resource, than an Angolan resource, the capitalist structure would say, okay, I am going to run over there and use the more efficient resource, whether that be to build a car or build a hammer or build something else. Now, the tie-in with regulations is as follows. One of the reasons American resources, you, are more expensive is that in America, we have started to cherish our waters, our land. We don't want a lot of cyanide and MBTs and all these bad things that corporations may try to dump in a laissez-faire manner. So therefore, our cost of resources become more efficient. We have to give, all these things become a bit more expensive because if you have to take better care of environment in the short term, it may cost you more, etc. In China, in Taiwan, I remember when I visited Taiwan on a business for a business meeting. There's a river that was going through Taipei, and the guy was telling me that the guy that picked me up at the airport, oh, that river is dead. We can't do anything with that river because all the semiconductor companies just throw their stuff in there and etc. So that's why a lot of the products that we can build overseas, right, are cheaper because the total efficient allocation of resources doesn't have to take that they don't care about pollution at that time over there. So what do the capitalists do? They don't care. Remember, there's no heart, no soul, no morals, no ethics. It's just about the efficient allocation of resources. So they manufacture those products over there. Now, to mitigate that to some extent is that magical thing called tariffs, sort of kind of level the playing field, right? All right, you got an advantage in preferring semiconductors over there. We are going to put a tariff on you, right? So that that product is more expensive over here, which means we take away some of that allocate efficient allocation of resources advantage from your products coming from your country, because in America where we want clean water, etc., we can't build it at that price, so we put a tariff on that to mitigate that issues. It's still a free market because again, uh, if the person in America wants to buy it, they're free to buy it. But we are going to put it at a higher price just to ensure that, the people that are doing things the right way in our country works right. And you know what? That's a good thing. So tariffs can be a good thing if applied for the appropriate reason. Unfortunately, that's not what Trump is doing with his tariff. Trump is trying to use tariffs as a method of creating bribes, as a way of just raising revenue to give tax breaks to his friends, right? To the wealthy. And he's doing that all on our backs. Because remember, tariffs are not progressive taxes. They're taxes that hits everybody that purchases. So therefore, if I buy a car, if I buy a hammer, if I buy clothes, if I buy any of these things, guess what happens, guys? I pay a tariff. I pay a tariff, whoever buys the product. As opposed to say, well, if you make more money, you pay a higher percentage of the tariff like we have with income taxes, etc. It doesn't work that way. So bottom line, tariffs can be a good thing if it's used with the intent they're designed for. In other words, to even a playing field where one side of the equation gets an unfair benefit. But in the case of the way we do it, and in the case of what we do overseas, where we bring a whole lot of raw material overseas and put added value on it in the places that have higher efficiency, it creates a huge problem for the working class, for the poor, for the middle class. Donald Trump, when he applied tariffs in his first administration, a lot of the money collected went into the treasury, but a lot of it went to give welfare to farmers. In other words, farmers were just paid for the damage of not being able to sell their products overseas. Now, I don't know if Trump intends to do that again. China has just imposed a 15% fee on soybeans, and I think it's soybeans and corn, 10% on other products that are coming from MAGA land. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, I hope that short tutorial on tariffs made sense to you. If you have any questions before I start the video, you can give me a call at 713 526 5738. Let's go to Tag. Come on in, Tag.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my friend. Talk to me.
Well, I've got a word about elections,
Yes, sir.
specifically the House of Representatives election, but I'll give you a word about tariffs first, my opinion about tariffs. I think one of the worst things about tariffs is it cuts down the competition to make our companies in the United States produce a better product at a cheaper rate. When you put tariffs on stuff coming from out of the country, next thing you know, our companies all raise their prices too. So there's really never any. It doesn't help for competition at all. And the one thing I think about a lot is I read an article that somebody in Jamaica had bought a Chinese car, a Chinese EV, for $10,000.
Yeah, I told you that. I brought that on my program a few weeks ago, where that's how they can get a very inexpensive, very good electric car in Jamaica. I told that story about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important story because what happens is that Detroit making their cars are never going to reach a higher level if they don't have to compete against that. And the worst part about it is that the whole rest of the world are getting these cars at that rate. American cars aren't going to sell overseas. You know, you don't really have to worry about tariff on an American car because they're just being beat by price over there. And so I think tariffs are really bad because of the fact that our manufacturers don't compete.
Let me answer. Wait, hold on, Tag. Tag, hold on a second. I do want to answer that so that our audience can get it. What Tag says is absolutely right. If tariffs are not done correctly, what Tag says is absolutely true, and that is it doesn't give the American company an incentive to reduce the cost for its American customers. The part that I'm talking about effective use of tariffs is the following, Tag. Let's say the American car company is trying to make a car as efficient as possible, right? And also, it's not trying to gouge Americans with profits for its shareholders and the executives. I know that's sort of an oxymoron, but let's put all of that being equal. That they're willing to make a small percentage profit, but at the same time make the car as efficient as possible, meaning the price for the American consumer. But we also have regulations in Detroit that says you cannot dump unprocessed water into the Detroit River, which eventually dumps, I believe, into the Mississippi and goes into our farmlands, etc. You can't do that. While in Taiwan or China, you can dump in the Shanxi River or something like that and pollute the river, no problem whatsoever. They get an unfair advantage. And the idea behind the tariff is to mitigate what that unfair advantage is, not to prevent our efficient making of cars, but to take away that advantage that they are allowed to pollute and our companies are not. That's all I'm saying. But you're correct that that's why a tariff has to be calculated perfectly so that additional cost only mitigates the advantage the other country gets for the rules our government applies to the American company. That's all I'm saying. Continue, brother.
Well, and I think that's one reason why foreign products have been a lot more attractive for manufacturers or for businesses to go buy those products and bring them over here, because they could buy them cheaper and make more profit here than they could, try to manufacture them here in the United States. And that's not going to change at all. It doesn't matter. The swing over the election issue
Mm-hmm.
in the House of Representatives. We all know pretty much that Sylvester Turner's passed away, and we're one vote less in the House of Representatives now. And Arnie was talking about it this morning about how it's going to be up to Abbott to announce or to set a date for to replace Turner. And
Yes.
if he announces it by March or before April 1st, then the election could be what, in May?
Yeah, he's in my area, Sylvester Turner. I'm here in Texas, and actually Sylvester Turner was a friend of mine. Now, the thing about it is, I doubt that the governor is going to do that. I think the governor is going to wait for the results of the two Florida seats and the New York seat, because Trump may need Abbott to sort of keep that election frozen. It's sad, but there's a lot that Abbott can do to sort of mess things up right now. I'll be frank with you. I love Sylvester Turner, but when he was running against Amanda Edwards and others, I was really hoping that we just left this to the young people, because this is something that I figured could have happened then. Continue, brother.
Well, the other election issue, is the Supreme Court in Wisconsin.
That is big. That is
now,
huge. Yes.
That's huge with the redistricting. If they get a Democratic judge of the Supreme Court, they could redistrict Wisconsin, and we hypothetically could end up with 2 more seats in the House of Representatives. Now, all this stuff sounds like it's probably going to happen in November rather than sooner, with the time it takes to have all these things happen. So, before the end of the year, maybe we could actually have a majority Democratic House of Representatives if everything went our way. And I think it's something that we need to watch for and try to push for.
I love that you pointed that out, because that is so true. Now, the Wisconsin won't make a change, because there's no missing senator or missing congressperson in Wisconsin. What that'll do is that'll help for the next redistricting that occurs, the next redistricting that occur. Now, we set the precedent in Texas that we didn't wait for the census or the 10 years. We just went ahead and redistricted, and the next 2 years we got another. We had a new set of lines drawn. I don't know how I don't know that you have to wait for census anymore to redistrict. So where Wisconsin can be helpful if a Democrat wins, and I think with what's going on in the country, a Democrat stands a good chance of winning in the Supreme Court there. That would make a change in 2026. So that net positive of 2 could occur in Wisconsin. Now, interestingly, we could actually win the Congress back if people are so pissed off of what they're seeing with Social Security, Veterans Affairs, etc., that those very red congressional districts actually flip. And it's happened before. We can take a look at Georgia, where we can say Assoff may have won prematurely, and the other senator, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anything else, Tag, before I jump to?
That's what we need to hope for, and I don't see how it wouldn't go that way with the way that they're doing things. The cuts and everything that Trump is doing is still only X amount done, and everybody's pretty upset already. But by the time we get through 6 months or a year of this stuff, I can't believe that people would put up with it. So that's I see big changes coming in the House and Senate.
I think so too. We'll see what happens. Thank you so kindly for your call, Tag. Let's go to Steve. Come on in, Steve. Thank you, brother. Steve, come on in. Brother Steve.
Morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Oh, excellent. Happy Monday. I just wanted to talk about family a little bit. And and how in the past, what MAGA and the politicians and the people with like billions have done very successfully over the last decade plus is divide families, so where we're not talking about politics and leaders, where we're afraid to talk to each other, right? And I've got an uncle my dad who passed away always joked, one was on one side, one was on the other side. And anyway, my uncle's like, he's got a bromance with Trump. And, he's out there ringing the bell on Inauguration Day and all that. And I call him the other day and I say, hey, his name's Roger. Like, Raj, are you happy about this administration? We're going more Russia. Putin's going to be our guy, and we're heading that way. And Elon Musk is running the government and all that. And he's like, oh no, he got his everything balled up. And I said, well, our economy is going to the crapper, and I need, I'm running out of money, and I need toilet paper, 2-ply, please. And so the next day he sends me some toilet paper, which I've sent him before, the pictures of Biden and Kamala, and I guess Pelosi was on there, but she looked like 40 years younger. So anyway, at least we're talking and not afraid, although I've got some other family members that, they're afraid to talk politics.
Well, you know what? I am glad that you and your uncle continue to have that conversation because, the thing is to make him feel that whenever he has to make that change and realize that he's been had, that he still feel comfortable talking to you because he will realize it. Okay. I am telling you, a lot of these folks are going to realize it. I just hope it's not too late where things get so out of hand that it's going to take us decades to recover. But they are going to realize the mistakes that they've made, Brother Steve. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, it's I love him. He's great, except for, and you can love people and they don't have to be exactly like you, right?
Exactly. My sister is still I have an older sister, not the younger one. The older sister, because evangelical Christian, etc. Still MAGA, and that is their program from their pastors, and they're designed to listen to their pastors. So that's where it's at, but it'll change. But anyway, Steve, I got to do a 18-minute video here. So anything else before I jump to the video?
Yeah, I've got one small request. Pro Green really loved him standing up, but if I can ask Howard to play Muskrat Love. So I'm thinking Rat is Musk by Cat or Tennille. If he can play that, I'd get a giggle every once in a while.
All right, thank you, my dear brother. Howard, I'm sure Howard heard you, right, Howard?
Oh, I heard. I'm looking for it now.
All right. Okay, folks, I've got to go and play this video. Thank you so kindly for calling in, Steve. All right, let's go ahead and do this, and then I'll start by taking our calls. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host today. We're honored once again to have Alex Lawson. Alex Lawson is the Executive Director of Social Security Works, the convening member of the Strengthened Social Security Coalition, and coalition made up of over 340 national and state organizations representing over 50 million Americans. The reason I wanted to get in touch with Alex as soon as possible is because of what we're seeing occurring in real time to Social Security via Doge and all the other machinations being done by the current Republican Congress. Alex, it's a pleasure to have you on Politics and Right today. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me. Love your program. Can't wait to dig into it.
Well, look, first of all, lay the script for me. First of all, when we spoke at Netroots Nation, we were hoping that we would have had a different outcome, but we were not so lucky. And for all those who thought that maybe Social Security was safe, maybe Medicaid was safe because these are programs that affect so many people, we've seen a wrecking ball take place that are using all kinds of machinations to get around it. So lay the case for me right now.
Yeah, it's a multi-pronged assault on all of us, but it's also really simple. It's literally the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, and his billionaire buddies reaching their hands into our pockets and stealing our money. our healthcare. On Social Security, you know, Elon Musk's Doge effort, they've already put in place devastating cuts that the former commissioner of Social Security, so it's not me, it's the former Senate confirmed commissioner of Social Security, said that will lead to system collapse in 30 to 90 days. That's what they've already done. And they've said they're not done yet. So these cuts are devastating. And that's not what they might do in the future. That's what they're doing right now. Your benefits are at risk. If you need to get in touch with the agency, you're not going to be able to. They want to make it just like, you know, Facebook or one of these Silicon Valley companies where when you try to call them, you don't get a human being. You get no help at all. That's what they're doing to Social Security. It's a wrecking ball that has already crashed through the middle of the agency. Now, that's not the end, though. That's not the end. What you saw last night is the President Trump, you know, this guy took the most brazen lies that Elon Musk has been selling, the ones that are most easy to disprove. And that's important. It's a trick of the tyrants. They want to push the biggest lie possible. There's nobody who's 200 years old getting benefits from Social Security. That's absolute garbage. It's totally and utterly false. But what he's doing is he's just trying to put out there this misinformation, this fraud idea. So just a quick fact, at 115, benefits are automatically stopped when a person hits the age of 115. There's not many people who reach that age, but there are some. And they actually have to go and prove to the agency that they're still alive to get their benefits turned back on. Most of everything that Donald Trump said is actually just based on Elon Musk and his little stooges not being smart enough to talk to people who understand the system that Social Security has in place. There is a vanishingly small amount of improper payments in Social Security. It is a rounding error. And yet the inspector generals have put out report after report detailing this is actually how you fix these improper payments. Most of it has to do with having enough people working in the system that they can update the file. But there's not millions of people getting fraudulent payments. That's just not what's happening. You have a tiny amount of people who are receiving improper payments. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's too little. But the idea that this system is rife with fraud, the private sector is absolutely, they would kill. They would kill to have the rates that Social Security does. It's an incredibly well-run agency that has incredibly low amounts of fraud. But I have to actually say it did, and it was, because now I don't know. They fired everyone in charge of ensuring that payments are proper, that the data is upgraded. They got rid of all of them. And now the president is out there saying there's all this fraud. He's coming for your benefits, people. He's closing your office next. They've already closed 45 offices. Yours is next. They told the GSA, which is basically the federal government's landlord, to cancel all of the government leases. That's 1,500 Social Security offices, your local office. You're not going to be able to call the 800 number right now. You should try and see how long the wait time is now, because they fired everybody. And now they're going to close your office so you can't go to the office. What's next? What's next is they're going to reach their hand directly into your pocket and take your benefits. Your check will not reach your bank account because it's going into Elon Musk's bank account instead.
You know, people thought that this was just hyperbole, but now we actually have examples of this happening. In fact, I saw one agent said, if you know what's good for you right now, if you don't have that piece of paper that they send you every year telling you how much you've worked, go ahead to the Social Security website and download your information so that you have evidence of what is occurring. But I know your main concentration is on Social Security, but I think what the administration is trying to do also is obfuscate Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare together so that it looks like one huge entitlement gone awry. Why don't you tell us a little bit of what they're trying to do there?
Yeah, so we focus on all of them because as a system, you need all the pieces of it. Medicaid is the largest provider of long-term care in this country. Medicaid serves seniors, children, people with disabilities. Over half of every person in a nursing home is there through Medicaid. You get rid of Medicaid, which is what the Republicans are proposing. They're proposing. They are like, oh yeah, we're not doing it. We promise. It's written down $800 billion, $880 billion in the committee that oversees Medicaid. They instructed them find $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid. That's in the reconciliation process, which is the longer term threat. And in that case, that destroys Medicaid. So you're exactly right. What they're trying to do is just paint this picture of these systems that they are, rife with fraud. There's all this waste and abuse. There is waste, fraud, and abuse in every system. That's true. And if you want to root it out, you have inspector generals who look at that specifically to minimize it. The first thing the administration did is fired all the inspector generals. That's not what you do if you want to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what you do if you want to do fraud. That's what they're doing. And so what we have here is an attack on all of us so that Elon Musk and his billionaire buddies can get an enormous tax handout. They're just robbing Peter to pay Elon, to quote a great leader of today. And that it's as simple as that. So they're coming after your Social Security. Your office is closing next. I want you to know that, right? It's not happening to someone else. It's happening to you. And if you don't wake up and fight back now, it is going to get worse. So we have to raise our voices right now. And I do think that they fully misunderstand how important Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are to the American people and the ferocity with which the American people will fight back because it's ours. We pay for it. We earn it. And if we let some politician in DC reach their hand in our pocket and steal it for Elon Musk, I don't think so.
One of the reasons I think we're having a few problems and issues communicating with people is that while you are a truth teller and you are pointing out evidence as to what exactly is happening, too many people will just hear the president at face value say, I am going to save Social Security, or hear Johnson, the Speaker of the House, say, I am going to save these programs for you, while at the other hand trying to create under reconciliation. First of all, I better explain one thing real quickly. There are two ways to take care of this, through reconciliation or through the normal budgetary process. Reconciliation means they can do it with all Republicans, which means if Republicans decide that they are all going to team up together, there's nothing Democrats can do to stop it. However, as Alex pointed out, definitively, you still have power because every single one of those Republican representatives, they want to be reelected. They want to be back in office. So the reality is you've got a month or two to let these guys know that you won't take it. Alex, what can they do? What can these people that are going to be affected do?
We gotta show up. So if you go to socialsecurityworks.org, you can get involved. You can join with us so that you're up to date. But we got to move it beyond the computer screen. We got to show up at your Social Security office. We'll help you organize the events. We've got dozens of these going on around the country. We need people to stand up right now. We need them to call their members of Congress, yes, but we need them to do more. But specifically on members of Congress, there's 17 frontline House Republicans who have won their districts by fewer votes than the people who will lose health care if budget reconciliation goes through, right? 17 frontline members. Take Iowa's first district, Representative Miller Meeks. She won by 700 votes. 700 votes. And if she gets her way, tens of thousands of her constituents will lose their health care. And we have a spreadsheet online. You can find us on social media, Social Security Works. So you have all the data, plus their phone numbers. Call them. Right now they're more scared of billionaire, unelected king, unelected bureaucrat, Elon Musk, than they are of their own constituents. We have to flip that. They have to be scared of their constituents. A very wise man once told me that at the end of the day, politicians really only care about one election, their own. And that's what we have to remind them of, that, when they're under the spellbinding, Elon Musk created safety blanket, it might seem like they're going to get away with it. They're not going to get away with it. They're going to lose their jobs. And the thing is, and you pointed this out, the margins in the House are so narrow. They can only lose one right now. And by the time reconciliation is going, they can lose three. There's 17 of them who are going to lose their job 100%. And they know it. That's why when they're selling this stuff, they lie, right? They go on TV and they're like, no, I'm not, there's no Medicaid cuts in there. And the problem is the corporate media is like, oh, okay. Okay. And you're like, what do you mean? Did you not get the document? It's right there. You can read it. $880 billion. So we can't trust. There's a couple things. The corporate media is, all speed ahead to make this happen. We can't trust politicians either. Politicians aren't going to save us. There's no cavalry coming, but we have to push the politicians because we're the cavalry. The bravery comes from us. It comes from everyday people standing up and saying no to this authoritarian takeover by an unelected billionaire bureaucrat. Once we show the bravery, then the politicians are going to join us. That's the order of operations. So first, we get organized, we get in the streets, we raise our voices, and we say, no, you're not going to steal our Social Security. No, you're not going to close my Social Security office. No, you're not going to take away my or my family's Medicaid and throw my loved one out of the nursing home that they need. That's where power comes from. Millions of people standing up together and saying, no, you're not going to get away with this.
A message to our MAGA brothers and sisters. In the aggregate, more of you are dependent on Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare than the population at large. Numbers are out there. And it's also important for us to understand that the billionaires, the only reason they have power is that money buys your vote. You have to decide if your vote can be paid for with dollars and lies. It is up to us, as Alex said. Alex, give me a closer.
So I know it's dark times and it feels like this is an unstoppable force that we're up against. It's eminently stoppable. These are not like superhuman. They've got all their stuff together. They're tripping over their own feet every day. Every day they're tripping over their own feet. You should read how impossible the pretzel is between the Senate and the House to get anything done. They don't agree with each other at all. In fact, in the House alone, they don't have a unified caucus. They hate themselves most of all. What we have to do is stand united and remember that there's tens of millions of us and that we have the power. These bumbling billionaire funded politicians and these unelected billionaire bureaucrats who are trying to steal our money, they're just trying to overwhelm us. So let's not get overwhelmed. Let's be methodical. Don't ever let them steal your joy either. We have to stay in this fight. It's not a sprint, nor is it a marathon. It's actually a relay race. So you do your part when you can, you take your rests when you need it, and you never, ever think that you're alone in this fight. Get organized.
Absolutely, get organized, as our brother El Señor Alex Lawson had to say, executive director of Social Security works very. He's been working a long time, teamed up with a whole lot of great advocates for Social Security. I want to welcome in the chat Joe from California, Cook Angels, don't know Cook Angela, don't know where you are, and Nora Hogan. Thank you guys for being here. Now, on Substack, I have a message. I can rarely see the messages on Substack, but this one I saw and it touched me. It said, pastors are all men. The two most powerful right now, men. Is everyone on this podcast male? Sorry about this, but not very. But down with the patriarchy, which is literally killing us, and up with the matricentry, not matriarchy, matricentry, meaning centralization on women. Let me tell you, Rose Malley, I accept that, and as far as the podcast, the broadcast, this is both a broadcast, podcast, live cast, you name it. That's what we are. Here's the thing. You're so right. I try to get more women on our program. In fact, I try to get more women to interview. And finally, one came on air and said, look, Egberto, you are doing a good job in really trying to ensure that it's not that these things aren't male centric. But we have to take care of the kids. And isn't that still an instantiation of the patriarchy where women believe they're the ones who must be the sole caretaker for kids, etc. I can tell you in my household, as my daughter was growing up, I played an integral part in being a part of her life. It was 50-50. No one person did everything, and we got to get there. Thank you for that commentary. I think it's necessary, Rose. All right, I got to jump to the phone. Let's start with Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Alberto, the program's very informative today. Thank you for that. This will be very fast. I noticed that Kristi Noem is running an ad, and basically I'll paraphrase. She's saying, thanks to the great wisdom of our dear leader, we will find you if you're an illegal alien. So self-report yourself so someday you may be able to come back. That the illegal alien is listening to Spanish radio and watching Spanish TV. That was geared towards MAGA to say, hey, you voted for us on immigration. Pay attention to that, not at these other things that are going on with Social Security, et cetera. That was aimed at the American people, not at the illegal alien. The illegal alien is not going to see that ad. I'm done.
You're a smart guy, Bruce, and you're absolutely right. And let me say, she better go and see what's happening in Nebraska, where Nebraska is about to go bankrupt now that a lot of our undocumented workers are leaving Nebraska. Their crops are not being taken care of. Their tax base has fallen. They're going, you know what the work is. Do this and find out. Thank you very much for that, Bruce. I got to go rather quickly because we're running out of time. Brother Ray, come on in, Ray. Ray's one of our great supporters here as well. Come on in, Ray.
Top of the morning to you, Egberto. I wanted to say thank you for, highlighting, what regulations do for our country and for the working class. And every time I hear somebody from that other side of wealth basically say it's waste and it's fraud, I always think about a scene I saw on that movie Trading Places.
Oh, yeah.
Said, we're paying a lot of these people an awful lot of money, Mortimer, and he's like, you can't get around the old minimum wage. And that makes me think they don't really value our work at all. And, ever since Reconstruction, they've been trying to find a steady path back to slavery. That's my theory. Like you say, antiseptic slavery is the current model that we're under. But if Donald Trump and his minions had it their way, making America great again, we would be back to pure, unadulterated, cruel slavery where you have no stake in the matter and you better do what they say you You better do what they say or else. And that's why they hate regulation. So I
Thank you.
appreciate it for bringing that up.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you, and I'll see you at 3, brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day, Ray. All right, let's go to Augie. Come on in, Augie.
Talking to a 70-year-old guy, and I knew him, and we started talking about politics. And he lives within his means. And I asked him, hey, did you know that Trump was talking about not giving out your Social Security payment for 3 months? And he didn't know about that. And he said, if he cancels my Social Security for 3 months, I don't know how I'm going to live. And a lot of seniors don't know that either. And also, Social Security is taxed. It was never taxed until the Republicans taxed it under Ronald Reagan. And a lot of people seem to forget that. And now the price of eggs, instead of buying a dozen, there's some stores that you can buy them individually for a couple of dollars a piece. And then the Canadians, when the flap with our current president happened, they were showing the price of eggs in Canada as $3, while up over here it's going $10 and up per dozen. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff going on that they don't want us to hear. Elon Musk didn't create Tesla; it was 2 other guys, but somehow he took over, and he got saved by government subsidies to help him keep Tesla, and also he gets government subsidies because of the space.
Augie, you're absolutely right. Elon didn't create anything, and it's the genius that people like to make out of Eli is manufactured. Brother Augie, I only have like 4 minutes, and I got to get a couple other calls in. So thank you so kindly, first of all, for contributing to KPFT, and also for being a great caller several times a week. Thank you, my brother.
Well, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, let's go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick, real quick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, brother. Talk to me.
I'll keep it short since we're running out of time, but 30 different states in the United States hold younger relatives liable if the elders can't make ends meet. So a lot of us, when Social Security disappears, we're going to see our checks getting garnished to cover our elders. So it's just another way that they're diverting money from us.
I didn't know about that. You got to tell me more about that at 3:00. That is one law, or that is one thing that I didn't know about. So let's talk about that further at 3. Okay?
Yes, sir. I'll be ready.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one. All right, let's go to Brother Brian. Come on in, Brother Brian.
Good morning. Hope
Good
the
morning,
fun
sir.
drive as expected. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We
We made it. We exceeded it by $2,000. Continue, brother. Thank you. And by the way, thank you for being a supporter as well.
Yeah. I sent you an email, and it was through one email address, and you did reply. And it was to another email system. It's very, very, very dormant to me. I haven't used it in years. And you're actually reply.
How did I get that email if you haven't used it in words? I can't create an email out of the blue, so you must have sent it somehow.
No. See, it also went into junk. And I actually went into sent email.
Uh-huh.
And yes, the original email that I sent shows up as sent through my first email address. Yeah, and it was a newsletter. You didn't reply to me in person.
Actually,
that's
that's not possible. Let me hold on a second, Brother Brian. Let me tell you something, okay? Again, be careful with the way you say things, because again, I could not possibly have gotten an email that's not you said it. You said it's one of your dormant. I got to get to the other. I got to get out of here, but. Think about this. Because I don't want anybody to think there's any email hanky-panky here. I cannot possibly know of an email of yours unless somehow your email system sends it to me. Think about that, brother. Don't try to create something like these mafiosos, not mafiosos, these what do you call them? These bad theories. I couldn't. How? Hold on. Stop for a second. How could I possibly know of an email that you have dormant several years ago? How could I possibly know that if you didn't send it to me, sir?
I know what I sent through which email address.
Again, Brian, I asked you to answer my question. I gotta go, but I ask you to answer my question. How could I possibly have known, sir, of some email of yours that's dormant? Think about it. Anyway, I gotta go, but think about that and talk to me about it tomorrow. All right, let's go. Let's go to the studio.
Well, to follow up on Augie's statement that Social Security is taxed and it happened under Reagan, that is true.
Yes, it is true.
However, yeah, it's true that you're paying it, but you have to have if you're continuing to work,
right,
and you exceed a certain amount, then a certain amount of your Social Security is taxed. Not all of it,
right?
But some of it is, which is totally unfair, because that was, that's an entitlement that we paid for, and I'm very concerned about this Social Security thing. You better not be cutting Social Security, because that's really going to cause a whole lot of problems.
Well, the issue with the 3 months, Howard, has to do with they're so corrupt in the system that they actually think system failure could create a delay in checks going out. It's
that's
crazy.
Because they chopped a bunch of holes into it.
Right.
You take an axe to something, you damage things that are not supposed to be damaged, and then they don't work properly. Jack, what you got, man?
Harriet Tubman, the woman who ran the Underground Railroad, it's her day today.
All right. Thank you so kindly for that, Jack. Anyway, folks, let's see. Love you all. Thank you for all your calls. Thank you for the great fun drive. I want to give a shout out to Billy Allison Irwin, who is in the chat as well. Anyway, folks, here's the deal. You can always send me an email at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. You can subscribe to our newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. We have all our videos there, etc. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. March 7th marked 60 years since Black Americans demanding their right to vote were brutally